Welcome to Life Recovery Today with Stephen Arterburn. In the next half hour, you'll obtain insights and tools to transform your life using the biblical principles found in the 12-step program. We believe everyone can benefit from a life recovery experience because we all have struggles in life. Struggles with addictions, food, depression, anxiety, and relationships, to name a few. You'll be encouraged to see how others have found a new way of life with hope for the future through life recovery. Your host is Steve Arterburn, founder of New Life Ministries and Women of Faith, author of over 100 books, and teaching pastor at Northview Church in Carmel, Indiana, one of the 20 largest churches in America. Steve is the co-editor of the Life Recovery Bible, the #1 selling recovery Bible. With over 3 million copies sold, this is the Bible given to inmates by Prison Fellowship and the Pew Bible for the Salvation Army. Now here's Steve.
Hi there, Steve Arterburn here, and welcome to Life Recovery Today. Now this is the second part of our two-part series featuring Dr. Dave Stoop as he gives this wonderful talk that when he gave it at our fantastic church, Northview Church, it was the most downloaded and re-listened to sermon of that year. Now, before we get back to Dave, I want to mention a new resource. Marcus Brotherton and I wrote this together, Every Believer's Thought Life. The last book we did was Kirby McCook and the Jesus Chronicles. And so we won Book of the Year with that, and we've come together and we've done this book that we think is going to impact so many lives. People said, how did you come to pick this as the book? Well, as we talked, we wanted to impact young people with the other book. We said, what would be the most impactful thing? And we came up with, how about thought life? Thoughts, well, they control our feelings. They lead to behaviors, choices, and we can just get so caught up in the negative thoughts. Not just about lust or things like that, but some people are obsessed with worry, or they have tremendous anger and bitterness festering, or there's shame. And we want to change that, and this is the resource for it. You can call 1-800-NEW-LIFE and get this brand new Every Believer's Thought Life. And I think it could be a great help to your recovery program. We always need to be enriching and growing in recovery, and this is a great next step. Now, the other resource, I showed this last time and show it many times, it's this big book of life recovery. And the big book of life recovery, it's the Bible. And Dave Stoop is the one that helped me put this together. And because of Dave, we have so many great recovering Bible scholars that have written the commentary and the notes here. Dave helped so many families deal with addiction and recovery because he was so willing to look at his own life and make changes even later in life. And of course, his wisdom and insight, well, it just continues on today and will continue on for a very, very long time. One of the great things about recovery is there's always another level to go to. I've seen people, you might have heard me say this before, some of the pioneers in AA, I was able to be in codependency or Al-Anon groups with them because after they had worked the steps and been in AA for years, they decided they wanted a different perspective and they wanted to work on themselves from a different way, and they started going to Al-Anon. So there's always more work to be done. If you don't have a copy of this, this is the great resource to do that work. And there are 5 different workbooks that you can use that will help you get deeper into it. But right now, I want you to hear the second half of Dave's talk on his own story and how his changes impacted the life of his son and really everybody in the family. Here's Dave.
Now here are some things that I've learned over the years. We all have problems. Paul tells us this in Romans 5. So we can rejoice too when we run into problems and trials, for we know that they help us develop endurance, and endurance develops strength of character, and character strengthens our confident hope of salvation, and this hope will not lead to disappointment. And Paul was saying the same thing that James says in James chapter 1, where he says, "Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds." Now, you don't have joy over the trials. There was a period of time when people were trying to say you got to thank God for the problems. And fortunately that teaching has diminished. You don't thank God for the problem. I don't thank God for the fact that my son was a heroin addict. But I am grateful to God for what he taught me in that process, and the character that he developed in me, and the endurance and perseverance that he developed in me during that time. I would not trade away that experience for anything. But I sure don't ever want to go through it again. Now, Gary Smalley used to say, Gary's not with us anymore, but I remember him saying, when I get a problem, I say, whoopee, God's going to teach me something new. And that's kind of the way Paul meant it to be taken. We count it all joy when there's problems because God is going to do something in you. And he took a long time with me because I was a slow learner. But here's some of the things that I've learned. I've learned something about the power of prayer. Because when you're powerless, that's really all that you have left is to pray. We were in Australia when speaking at a series of churches going through, and we were in Adelaide, and we got a call from home saying that our son had been arrested in Los Angeles. And we couldn't do anything. We just said, okay, well, let him stay there until we get home. But some other family member did the enabling job. They went and bailed him out, which we were learning not to do at that point in time. But we were with the church, and they could tell something was wrong, and they asked us what was wrong, and we told them. And they said, well, we're a prayer warrior church. That's a big part of our ministry. We pray for people really effectively, and we would like to begin praying for your son. I hope they're still praying. Maybe that's why he's got so many years of sobriety. But they started praying, and we started, once we went public with what was going on, we enlisted anybody that was willing to begin to pray for him, and we prayed for our son, and everybody else was praying for our son. And we prayed together as a couple. We've been praying together on a daily basis, my wife and I, for almost 50 years. And it's been the thing that carried us through. When we were in the midst of the problems with our son, sometimes all we could pray was, God, help us. We were so exhausted and so broken, we didn't have much of a formal prayer. It just help. And God did help, see. So there's a saying in AA, and it goes way back to Fenelon, who was a counselor to King Louis XVI in France, where it says, let go and let God. And you got to let go of the responsibility for it and let God deal with it. Now, we also have to learn to experience tough love. The problem in our house was whenever I was tough, my wife would get soft. I'd be firm, my wife would be easy. She would let up. She would undo whatever I would do. And then sometimes it was the other way around. She was being tough, and I was being soft and kind and undoing anything that she was doing. Big part of what we had to learn was how to be tough and loving at the same time. What we finally told our son is, as long as you're using, you're not welcome in our home. That was hard. And if you are in recovery, you're more than welcome because we love you. And so it always has to be the dual paradoxical statement, I love you, but I will not tolerate this. And whatever they listen to, well, I know you love me. Well, but we're not going to tolerate that behavior. You've got to re-emphasize the other side. Or if they say, yeah, you don't really care. No, we really love you, but we're not going to put up with that. It's interesting that in the parable of the prodigal, there are recovery principles of what we're to do when somebody is off base spiritually and emotionally and family-wise. Luke 15 tells the story, and it's a radical story. It includes things that would never happen in that culture. But Jesus tells his Jewish audience, who were aghast probably at the statements that he said, no son would ever ask his father for his inheritance. It's like saying, I wish you were dead. But that Jesus has the son ask for the inheritance. No father would ever give in to that request. But Jesus has the father give in to that request. And he gives the son his money, and the son takes off and wastes the money by living lasciviously and finally comes to his senses. Now, the important thing to see in that is what tough love is teaching us. The father never went looking for the son. The father never bailed out the son. The father never sent him a little bit so that he'd have something to eat. The father did nothing except watch the road. Look at Luke 15:20. So when the young man got up and went to his father, this is what happened. But while he was still a long way off, his father saw him and was filled with compassion for him. And he ran to his son, threw his arms around him, and kissed him. And no father would run either in that context. But Jesus is making a point about the welcoming of the prodigal back. But it's interesting to see that the father never did anything to get the son back except watch. He watched for the road, and one day he saw his son returning, and he ran to him and kissed him and loved him with compassion. So there's the tough love. Don't do anything, and then when the things are right and he starts to return, you run to him and love him.
Are you going through your struggles alone? Do you want someone to talk to help you through your pain? Do you feel like a failure when you relapse again, telling yourself, next time will be different? Don't walk this path alone anymore. Join a life recovery group today and be a person that your friends and family can be proud of. God created us to be in community, and we believe everyone can benefit from a life recovery experience. There are life recovery groups all over the country, and if there isn't one in your area, we can help you start one. Life Recovery brings recovery to you, right where you are. You'll take a journey with others to find healing and freedom. Whether you're looking to join a group or start one, New Life Ministries is here for you. Call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE or visit liferecoverytoday.net. It's hard to find a trusted friend when you're in crisis. Someone who's been there and understands, but who also has the training and skill to give you practical help. Family, friends, and churches want to help, but often they're not equipped to care for those dealing with problems like addiction and pornography, infidelity, anger, depression. New Life Ministries is here to provide help and hope in life's hardest places. We're not focused on making people feel better. We're focused on helping people do the work that will help them be better. At New Life, we have resources available to help you, like books, DVDs, CDs, workshops, and our network of licensed counselors. If you need help, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE and begin your new life today.
Welcome back. Well, if you've really listened to what Dave is saying, you can see that he doesn't just know about recovery. He walked the recovery journey. And it really began with him examining, what are my motives? Why am I doing the things that I'm doing? Which takes tremendous courage to stop, ask yourself, am I fooling myself? Because what a sad thing when we don't even know why we're doing what we're doing, because we're really kind of faking it. Might look good, but really it isn't. His story may help you to see, where do you need to look? Where is your own recovery lacking a bit or could have some special attention? Now in this segment, he's going to continue to reveal his own family journey, and so I want you to hear it. It's very inspiring to me even to this day.
Now, the other thing I learned was that addiction Any kind of addiction is a family process. It's a family disease. If somebody in your family is dealing with alcohol issues, it's a family disease. If you've got somebody you love who's addicted, it's a family disease. Everybody's involved in the problem. And I should have known that. I was trained in family systems, and yet, like a lot of counselors, we don't apply what we learn to ourselves because we're too subjective. But it is. In one of the programs, the one program of maybe the two that our son completed, we did a family week, and his girlfriend did a family sculpture of our family. Well, that's where you take the family members and you set them up in a posture and behaviors that kind of illustrate how you see the family. And she had me sitting in the center with a book. I was reading a book. And she had my wife kind of running back and forth between everybody, making sure they were all okay. My oldest son was off somewhere else because he was the hero. He was a hard worker. He made the family look good. And our youngest son was kind of going around the outside of the circle saying, I'm here, and nobody paid any attention to him. Well, I didn't like that sculpture because she made me the problem. And I was the problem. I was part of the problem because I was preoccupied often. I was in my doctoral program. I was preparing for a career change. I thought I was available. Didn't matter what I thought. It mattered what my kids thought. And when my son and I talked about it after he was in recovery for a period of time, he said, you were just never available as far as I was concerned. So he lost me. So it's a family illness. And the fourth thing that I've learned is you got to get help and you got to get educated. You can't deal with these things on your own. We had to get help, and we kept having to get more help until we finally got it right. And we had to get educated. Now, my 6 months of speaker meetings was the best education I've ever had. If you were to come to my office and talk to me about somebody in your family needing help with an addiction, I would say, you need to go to Hoag Hospital on Saturday nights to their speaker meeting. A lot of times hospitals that treat addiction or detox from addictions put on a speaker meeting as a means of marketing. And our local hospital does one on Saturday night, and it's high quality and it's entertaining. It starts at 8:30, but people get there at 7:30, put their keys on the chair to get a seat because it's so well attended. I went to those speaker meetings over 30 years ago. I still remember some of the talks that I heard. One time we had a cardiologist from Loma Linda University Medical School come and shared how he had developed a current method for implanting pacemakers. I don't know if it's still in use, but if you have a pacemaker, it, in all likelihood, was implanted in your body by a procedure that this doctor invented. And he told how he invented it. He said he was called in to do this emergency implanting of a pacemaker, and he had been drinking way too much. And he went in anyway because he was on call, and he decided, since he was half drunk, to do it temporarily and come back the next morning and finish the task. So he planted the pacemaker in a temporary way, left, came back the next morning to kind of cover his mistake, and found that the way he had implanted the pacemaker the night before when he was drunk was a superior way, and it became the accepted practice. Scary, isn't it? And doctors have a problem with alcohol, a lot of them. I remember a priest, Father Joe, who told about when he was in Mexico. He was at a restaurant where out on the patio there was a fountain, and the fountain contained margaritas, and you could just take your glass and refill it as many times as you want. And he said, I had to get out of there, I couldn't handle it. And then he said, I suppose that when they put me in my coffin, when I finally die, just before they close the door, the lid of the coffin, my addiction will sit up and say, come on, Joe, let's have one more for the road. And others that were memorable. Now, if you go to, I would suggest you go to speaker meetings. Even if you don't have a problem, go to speaker meeting. And take your family with it. If you have teenagers, take your teenagers with you to the speaker meeting. Get them educated as to what they're up against in today's addictive society. And get educated yourself and make sure that you get help. Like I said, I'm grateful to God for what I've learned. And Steve told about this lady that called after 20 years, and because I said the same thing to her 20 years ago, go to speaker meetings. At a speaker meeting, you go into the meeting and you sit down. And you don't say anything. You don't say, hi, I'm here because my kid's an addict, or I'm an alcoholic. You just go in and sit down. When it's over, you get up and leave. And they have a pool of speakers that try to travel between these meetings. I had a man come in for counseling, and his wife had sent him in, and he said, my wife wants to know if I'm an alcoholic or not. And I said, well, tell me what you're doing. And he told me, I said, well, I don't know if you're an alcoholic, but what I want you to do is I want you to go to speaker meeting. I sent him to Hoag Hospital, but he didn't go to Hoag. He got a list of meetings from AA, and he saw that there was a speaker meeting close to where he lived, and he went to that. He'd report to me each week what he was learning, and on the fourth week he came in and said, well, I guess I'm an alcoholic. I said, well, how'd you decide that? Well, I've been going to 4 speaker meetings, and I'm identifying with every one of them and saying, that's me, that's me. And so he got past the denial and was able to acknowledge the fact that he had a problem. We all need to be educated, and we all need to get help. And that's the truth. Now let me say one more thing before we have the campus pastor come out. I would never want to go through it again. It's extremely painful. The things that I did were the right things. When I did the right things, they were difficult things. They were not the easy things. But I would not want to have missed what I learned in that healing process. And someday my son's going to write the book about what he learned in that process. He's already written one, but he's got to be rewritten to hit today's market. But it's great what God can do when we allow him to, when we get educated, when we see that we're all part of the problem, and we get the help that we need. Oh, one more story. I had a lady come in because she had been almost depleted all of her cash. She was older, retired, had a 30-year-old son who was always in trouble, always in trouble. He was addicted to Adderall. And I said, I want you to go to Al-Anon. We have a great meeting in our area on Saturday mornings at a church, and it's about 150 people come, and they're all parents. It's a parents' meeting. And they're parents of active addicts, alcoholics, or recovering addicts, alcoholics. She went once and came back and said, I'm not going back there. I said, why not? Those people don't care about their kid. I said, what do you mean? Well, they're talking to each other. They're laughing. They have a life. They don't care about their kids. I said, on the contrary, they care deeply about their kids. They just don't feel responsible for what their kids are doing. It's taken her months of going to that meeting to finally understand the reality of that. But that's the place you learn how to do the tough love. That's the place where you get educated, and that's the place that's going to turn things around. So I urge you to go as an experiment, just for your own sake. Don't be afraid. It's time for all of us to get educated because of what's going on in our country. And nothing's going to change very quickly, because until help is available as easily for opioid addiction people as the opioids are available, it's going to be an uphill battle, and we got a lot of work to do ahead of us.
You know, a lot of people wonder about this gratitude thing. Well, I'm so grateful that I ended up an addict, you'd hear people say, or so grateful that I went through what I went through. And I think Dave really does play this out and describe it well. He wouldn't trade his journey. He didn't want to repeat his journey. But there is a gratitude within him, and I watched that gratitude grow as he learned that recovery really can go deeper, richer, and he was grateful for all those new insights and things that he learned. And you must never listen to people that tell you, well, you know, those 12 steps are anti-biblical or they're of Satan. They came right out of the big book. That's what the founders said. And every one of those principles is a biblical principle or a biblical step to take. And anybody that's criticizing these steps, you should ask them, show me specifically which step you think doesn't support the truth of God's Word. Now, maybe you or maybe your loved one has yet to take that first step in recovery. It's pretty simple to do, especially with so many meetings that are online. But if you go to newlife.com and click on the Life Recovery section, or you call New Life, 1-800-NEW-LIFE, and ask for Terry Ward, you can get assistance in where to attend a group, either online or in person. You can also get assistance on how to start a meeting. Now, you know, Dave suggested that a beginning for everybody would be attending a speaker meeting. And it really is great. First of all, it's pretty non-threatening. And then once a person is at that meeting, they see that, wow, these aren't weird or strange people. They're very much like me. And so a speaker meeting can be a powerful thing. But also, as a first step, attending or watching or participating in an online life recovery group can be a great way to begin the connection process. And so when you call us, we can help you with a group. We can help you with a recovery coach or a counselor, because we've got so many people for so many years. We've been working on and through these steps, and we've been building our life recovery program, and now you can benefit from that when you call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. You know, you could do one thing toward experiencing the life that God has planned for you. You could do something. And I think that something, first of all, is developing this humble willingness and courage to do something you've never done before. And that might be pick up a phone call and let somebody know that you want some help. My prayer for you is that you'll consider what Dave shared today, and that you'll make the call, go to the appointment, watch the meeting, attend the meeting, and do whatever you can do to move closer to a different way of living, the life recovery way. It's pretty amazing to see people who everything they do is another step toward healing and hope and even the word happiness. I'm so grateful that you watched. I hope you would encourage somebody else to watch this or to tune in next time. We love you. We care about you. Call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE and let us help you in any way you need that help.
Thanks for joining us for Life Recovery Today with Stephen Arterburn. We hope this program has helped you integrate God's truth and wisdom into your recovery journey. This program is brought to you by New Life Ministries, and it's your support that keeps this program on the air. When you contact us for any reason, be sure to let us know that you watch on NRB. Call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE or go to liferecoverytoday.net. Please join us again next week for more Life Recovery Today.